Welcome, everybody. We're here. Today's February 14th, 2024. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. We are here for the special police commission meeting regarding the public hearing on the fiscal year 2025 budget. And we call this meeting to order. Per public hearing on the public police department's fiscal year proposed budget request, as per the city charter amendment E, the police commission shall, beginning in January 1992 and annually thereafter, hold a public hearing prior to the finalization of its budgetary considerations, so as to discover the will of the people with respect to such matter. I'd like to begin just by noting that our thoughts are with the people in Kansas City during this difficult time. We are just so thankful for the Portsmouth Police Department and the men and women of the police department who help keep us safe. You'll note, and we're going to have a robust presentation by the chief and Karen, but preliminarily, so the city manager came in to the police commission meeting last month and asked for fiscal austerity. We listened to that, and that's exactly what we sought to do. And I think we all owe a special thanks to the chief and Karen for all your efforts in trying to put forward a budget that we can, a preliminary budget, which we are very proud of in terms of trying to honor those requests. So in an overall, the preliminary budget increase is 4.49%. The public will note that this increase is almost exclusively due to salaries and associated rolled up costs as a result of the newly negotiated union contracts approved by the city council. The purpose of those contracts, as we talked about is to help with recruitment and retention of officers, which has been so difficult. And unless, do any of my fellow commissioners have any other considerations? Then with that, I will turn that over to the chief and Karen to commence your presentation.
All right. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. As has been stated, this is our FY25 budget proposal for the upcoming next fiscal budget for the police department. As Commissioner Coyle has stated, the guidelines were to try to stay within a 3.5% to 4.5% increase, and all our increase is basically driven on our newly signed contracts and contractual obligations. We have no new positions and no new programs presented in this request. And we are trying to be as fiscally responsible as we can moving forward and addressing the needs of the community and our department. You can move on to the next one, Jackie. When creating our budget, we follow a strategic plan. It's a 5-year strategic plan. We're in the process of developing a new strategic plan moving forward from 2024 to 2028. As you'll see, well, in our strategic plan, we've had ideas and proposals on what we try to achieve every year. But as we stated earlier, that we are trying not to add any new programs and new positions. So looking at our strategic plan, there were some things that, as of last year, like we added a new position for a social worker. Going forward into the FY25, we're projected that we possibly may need an additional social worker, but due to the times and the restraints, we're not going to ask for that new position this year. We're going to work with the position we have, and hopefully in the further year out, we will be able to better address social worker position and adding them to what the needs are for the community. Looking at some of the programs that were in the FY20 or in the 2023 strategic plan and the accomplishments that we did in that plan, one of the major accomplishments was solving one of our long unsolved homicides with Laura Kempton. It's a 42-year-old case, and that was solved. And part of, in our budgeting, we still have to provide resources of investigating our unsolved cases, and without some of the budgetary needs that are put in there, we would not be able to further investigate those cases and solve them. So we never forget about them. We are always working on them. As part of our budget, we need to have funds addressed for those specific needs. One of the other big accomplishments we had is we finally are upgrading our computer-aided records management system and computer-aided dispatch system that was approved in last year's budget. It was an 18-month implementation process, and we are currently implementing it now and hope to go live in the fall of 2024. We're looking for that as a great accomplishment and will allow us to collect a lot more statistical data that we'll be able to provide to the community that was requested in the past from a resident group of community residents that were asking for more information than our current system was able to provide. Another accomplishment was, as a CALEA accredited police department, we just recently got reaccredited this past summer for our second reaccreditation process. As a part of that, we also, the state is now implementing an accreditation program, and as a CALEA accredited program, we've accomplished almost all the standards necessary to be state accredited. So we will be adding the additional state accreditation. It's not, fortunately for us, it's not going to be a heavy lift because of being CALEA accredited, but that's another accomplishment that I think we're looking forward to moving an added resource that we have. For wellness in the police department, we added a comfort dog in Mason. He's been a great addition to the department and to the community. He's well received. Through this year, we also were fortunate enough to receive a very kind donation from Portsmouth Ford. They donated a new F-150 electric truck, which allowed us to update an old 2008 Ford Ranger that we had been using in the department. We were able to take that offline and upgrade to this brand new truck to use as a utility vehicle within the police department. In addition, we received grants from the New Hampshire Highway Safety Grant that allowed us to purchase a new speed sign that we use throughout the city. Some of the old signs that we had were outdated and not working any longer. So this gave us some new technology and new speed sign to help curb traffic and speeding, which is the #1 complaint that we receive consecutively year after year to best address. A little back up more on accreditation and what that's done for our department, and all the reforms that we're going through in the last few years. Through our accreditation, we were already ahead of most of those. They have been addressed through our accreditation process. Another positive on accreditation is it's been an accountability piece, and it's served us well. I'm not going to say that we've been perfect in everything, but because of our accreditation, the steps that we take through proofs and policies and reporting, anything that we may be falling behind on, we've caught by using the process. So I am a subscriber and believer in accreditation. It can be cumbersome at times for a lot of, especially in detectives, where there's a lot of reports that have to be done and people are working on investigations to take the time to take the necessary steps to get our proofs and to do all the different reports. But in the end, it holds us accountable. And like I said, if there's any gaps that sometimes get overseen, it gets caught by the system in place. Addressing staffing, that is by far the #1 concern with moving forward in the police department. And I think, most agencies across not only the state, but across the country, is recruiting and retention. everybody's looking for the best police officers out there, and it's a very limited pool and people who are looking to get into this line of work. So there's a lot of needs that we need to do to address this situation. One of the big ones was we just obviously got our contracts approved to increase our pay and be able to recruit and retain the best available police officers. We used to be at one time a destination spot for police officers, and people would flock to our department, but due to the times and the error in law enforcement and community beliefs on, I guess, policing in the last few years, it's very hindered our hiring process. And we're not being flooded with candidates we used to be, but we've also not lowered our standards, and I feel that it's important to keep the standards that we have, and we try to find the best of the best. And as a result of that, it's made it difficult to fill our positions. For example, we had 101 candidates last year, and out of those 101 candidates, we only hired 5, which equates to a 95% washout rate. But my belief is that it's not worth taking chance on someone that could be a bad apple, because one bad apple not only hurts our department, our community, but it hurts everybody in law enforcement. Another area that we've needed to address is dispatch. Again, that's a tough position to fill. It takes a special type of person to be able to work in that work environment. It's a tough work environment. Again, last year we had 67 applicants, and we were only able to hire 3 that could make it through the complete background. These issues that have made it difficult in achieving our hiring and retention goals. But moving forward, I think we've got plans in place. We've been doing a lot more advertising, marketing, and recruiting to find police officers. And we're hoping that this next fiscal year that we'll be able to fill all of our positions. Looking at the FY25 budget, the increase is 4.49%. We've gone from a $13.9 million budget to a $14,586,000 budget. Like I said, the majority of that is driven by fixed costs. You can see the balance of costs that cause the increases were FY24 hires that we hired halfway through the year. The increase there is 71,000. Steps and stipends related to benefits from the new contract increase of 205,000. COLA, cost of living increases and other related benefits of 299,000. Increase in insurance to 41,000. And then everything else fell on the operating of $9,000 for a total increase of $626,000. As you can see in this slide here, that the majority of our budget is made up of salary and benefits, which equates to 86% of our combined budget. 7% is under other operating, and overtime makes up a small percentage of 5% of our total budget. Looking at this in capital improvement plan, this is actually separate from our FY25 budget. It's in the capital improvement is a CIP. The city puts into a separate fund, but in that fund, relative to the police department, this is over long-term budgeting for big projects, and our big project obviously is moving forward and trying to build a new police station. In our CIP, we've been estimated we have an estimated approval of $42 million. In our process of trying to construct that police station, we've received costs that are significantly higher than that. We're working on trying to retain some of those costs and reduce our space needs the best we can, and looking at different ideas on how we can get to a new building within the guidelines that have been approved. In addition to the new police facility, we have requested initial $400,000 to do updating improvements to our current facility and the time and the time difference that it would take to get a police station. If we were to put a shovel in the ground tomorrow, we'd probably still be about 2 years out before we could move in. So there's some needed updating to the police department that we've had for the last several budget cycles, but due to the mold problems and remediation problems, most of that money has been spent fixing that problem and not addressing the issues that the original 400,000 was designated for. Check. As part of the CIP, in addition, falls under the technology and information systems in the city's budget is rolling stock of IT equipment such as servers, laptops, PCs, printers, and radios, which is in addition to outside of our FY 2025 budget. Some of the other big ticket items that are moving forward in the FY 25 budget is our request for body cameras as part of the resident group that was created with the police department. Was a recommendation to get body cams. We've been working to implement those. We've been getting demos of different types of cameras out there and putting together costs. I think we've got it narrowed down to 2 different vendors at this point. So we're looking forward to implementing body cameras in the near future if it's approved in the next CIP. Another piece of equipment that's part of the CIP is new tasers. We are at end of life with our tasers, current tasers. And it's a big ticket item of almost $500,000 to replace and outfit all of our officers with new tasers. And the last piece of equipment towards our capital improvement plan is to update our radars for our cruisers and our handheld radars. They too are at end of life as new technology that's out that's more efficient, more accurate, and allows us to do different things that the current equipment doesn't provide. And our equipment is again at the end of life and we need to replace it. So that's the last piece of equipment in our FY 25 CIP. Going towards our rolling stock, this is where our vehicles are. The police department currently has 38 vehicles, which include the patrol black and whites, detective cars, animal control vehicle, crime scene van, training car, and we call it a PAL van, but it's a multi-passenger van that we use for different events. The honor guard, taking multiple officers to training. We also have 2 motorcycles. These vehicles are on a replacement schedule. For example, is a 5-year life, and usually retired at over around 100 to 120,000 miles. Detective cars are rotated about every 10 years because they're not driven like the black and whites. The black and whites run 24/7, and detectives generally work, 1 shift generally during the days. So there's not as much wear and tear on their vehicles. Sometimes when some of the cars get up to the 5-year mark, if there's not a lot of wear and tear, we then pass them down and we use them as either SRO car and animal control or the animal control car. We generally try to keep our vehicles until the maintenance costs start to outweigh the value of the vehicle, and then we look to upgrade them. Moving forward in the FY 25 budget, we generally get 5 vehicles, but this year, due to the cost restraints, we've knocked it back to 4 vehicles. So we're looking to replace 3 of the black and whites and 1 detective SUV and 1 motorcycle.
So I think it's important to note, just as we look at this, that when you look at sort of the fiscal year 25 budget, when we talk about other operating costs, that is only a rate, a total increase of $9,000, which I think truly remarkable. With respect, it's time to open up the floor for public input. And really, this is an opportunity for the public to voice any priorities you have to the commission or about the police department budgets, about their asks. We welcome everybody to please, whether it's through this public meeting or any other time you see us downtown, give us a call, send an email. We're all open to getting public input, and that's really important to us and to the police department. So
Can I just add, I'm gonna ask Karen if, because I can't read the small print, just give an explanation of what would be another operating costs?
It's things like equipment, office supplies, training costs, all sorts of operating costs that we have to do.
Okay.
but it's so relatively small relative to
The overall budget.
main
the
budget.
overall budget. And I just think that's, again, that is exactly to the tune of the directive of the city manager and the council, so. I don't see anyone here for public comment, and I don't know that there is anyone else who wishes to speak, but again, this will conclude our meeting, this meeting for the fiscal year 25 budget request. Like the strategic plan, this budget document, we call it a living document until it's adopted. And again, we've talked about how it's preliminary, and it is preliminary because it is still a working document and has not been adopted. We have, and again, please, until now in mid-March, please, we welcome public comment, public input. Feel free to reach out to us. Our next police commission meeting is March 5th as well, and feel free to come then or any other time. We appreciate everybody's input and time. And with that, any other?
Nothing from me.
Other commissions? I'm good. Okay, well, then the meeting will be adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.